Hey, welcome back to the real life superhero Iceberg. This time we're doing part 2. We did part 1 in the last video, so if you didn't see that, you better go see it. And if you're going to be there, then also
subscribe.
Okay, now that we all have seen the first part, you know what an iceberg is, so we don't need a reminder, okay? So let's just hop right into it, because we got a lot to talk about. Let's hop into part 2, electric... RLSV. Real life super villains. Whoa. RLSV is just a response to RLSH. Most of the villains who arose came about because they were declaring themselves as a foe to a popular hero. For example, Phoenix Jones' arch nemesis was Rex Velvet. Now, RLSV don't actually commit crimes most of the time. Mostly, they're just people who criticize RLSH. Ironically, a lot of them exist to call out actual bad people in the RLSH community who do commit crimes. And so as a result, RLSV mostly operate online. Therefore, the groups that form could be from all around the world, and they are. For example, we have Sector 3 on the list, but there's kind of a lot when it comes to RLSV, so comment down below if I should make a real-life supervillain iceberg next. RLSV kind of had a trend. They were notable for doing a lot of interview talk shows with RLSH. For example, one of the oldest villains, Jay Creeper, had this show called It's Joker Time. It's Joker Time. It's Joker Time, baby. All right. It was on Blog Talk. All right. I don't know if it exists anymore. All right. Hold on. Let me set the bar straight for my guy, Jay Creeper. No, I mean Kill Pond, okay? Now, this goes out to all the RLSH, RLSV, and anybody else who ever knew him as the Joker. Alright? He retired from the RLSH community entirely. He is not RLSH. He is Kill Pond for cosplay and roleplay purposes. It is loosely inspired by Deadpool. Loosely. He has no more interest in the Joker. He's even sold his Joker collection. He gave it all up. He is not Joker anymore. So please, knock it off. Jay Creeper, not a thing. Because that was also based on Joker. He is strictly Kill Pond, which is not RLSH. Or Deadpool. So all you newbie RLSH, get out of here. Stop sending him friend requests. Get out of here. Go. Anyways, that was for you, Kill Pond. I got you. None of the villains have ever fought any of the heroes in real life until recently. See, Flaccid Sand and Rock Hard, these guys are fighting, but it's not like it's a charity fund, okay? It's not like a tense, heated rivalry between good and evil, but they are fighting, all right? They are fighting. Basically, the loser gives $1,000 to the other person's chosen charity. Pretty simple. I think it's cool. I think a controlled fight between heroes and villains for a charity donation, that's a pretty fun way to promote both the community of RLSH in a comic booky way while keeping it to an altruistic goal, as opposed to it just being pure entertainment. That's kind of the essence of RLSH as a whole, is using the love that people have for superhero entertainment to bring them towards altruistic goals. Anyways, speaking of the fight between Flaccid Sand and Rock Hard, who is that? Who's... Hey now. Who's Rock? Put that thing away. I'm sorry. So Rockhard is definitely one of the most popular superheroes right now, and that's mostly thanks to the fact that, well, before this he was already a relatively successful YouTuber, Manuel Boza. Over on Instagram, people just, I guess, didn't bother to go over and check him out on YouTube, because on Instagram, people had no clue that he was already a pretty successful YouTuber. He didn't start off trying to be RLSH or anything like that, kind of like how Phoenix Jones wasn't. He was lumped into it sort of unwillingly, because he wasn't even sure what the RLSH community really was until he started making the video, I tested out superhero gear, yada yada. And that's when he reached out to Red Ranger and started asking a bit more about the community. That video then led to I stopped crime as a real life superhero, to I stopped crime as a real life superhero again, then to I stopped crime as a real life superhero in New York. Now I think the recent video they're working on is that fight I mentioned earlier in the video, but I don't know if that's going to be out before I get this video out first or not, so we'll see. Now, Rockhard does things a little differently than any other RLSH, partially because, well, he wasn't really part of RLSH to begin with. He was doing his own thing for YouTube, right? And this is where he gets a little bit of controversy for the RLSH community, because some people see that the way he mixes fiction with real life work is a little indicative of the way Phoenix Jones was lying before, and other people just see it as a fun gimmick, like role-playing for his YouTube, you know, harmless stuff. I'm not here to give my opinion on whether or not I think he's a hero or a hoax. What I can say is that his approach to the social media thing has been pretty successful thus far, and that's even after like a month-long break. And that led to a couple of other events, you know, getting some sidekicks, other heroes. I don't want to give you the full Rockhard story because, I mean, you can just go watch it all yourself. But just know it's a little bit like WWE, but for RLSH. And whether or not you like that approach isn't for me to say. All right, next up we got Echo. Emerald City Hero Organization is what Echo stands for. It was founded in 2013 by Dragon and El Caballero. This is another one of the early teams that is still around to this day, so it's had quite a lot of members. Mischievous, Justin Service, Evocatus, Girl Scout, Skyman, Iron Baron, and most recently Crow joined. However, of all the teammates, the most popular is by far Red Ranger of Seattle. When it comes to RLSH content, you're going to see Echo mentioned quite a lot. Well, really, you're going to see Red Ranger mentioned a lot. When it comes to patrols, he's the most prevalent in the content. For the most part, they show up in like protests and whatnot. They're usually helping break up any kind of tense fights between different sides, keeping track of dangers, like the time when there was a electric scooter set on fire. Now I get it. Protests can get a little rowdy, but an electric scooter, those things can blow up. So I'm good on them for putting that thing out. They're pretty welcoming to new RLSH members, and they've coordinated with other groups like the New York Initiative, but they coordinated with the Washington Initiative. My bad. They've been at this for years now. They've become a pretty staple part of Seattle's nightlife. They're even featured in a 2022 podcast called Superhero Complex as a part of the Seattle Vigilante narrative. Seattle's a pretty notable city for RLSH, it seems. And without Phoenix Jones kind of holding up that space there, you know, it left room for Echo to come in and be the #1 hero team. Even now, though, I think when it comes to newcomer superheroes, Seattle has a large amount of them coming in and out of the scene. And that's primarily thanks to Echo. They've got a wide influence. We got Echo in Seattle, the Initiative in New York Initiative, and the Extreme Justice League in San Diego. There's one more big team still active covering a big American city right now, but they're coming up later on the Iceberg. These might be the big three. I don't know. We'll see. Once we get to the fourth big one that is still active right now. All right, next up we got Colinfurze. You remember Hacksmith in part 1? This is another YouTuber engineer guy. There's a lot of those, but I feel like Colinfurze is another good one for real life superheroes. He's known for really high risk, over the top kind of builds, right? He made Hulkbuster type of armor, magnet boots, and a whole lot of jet powered vehicles. I mean, he jet powers like everything. Colinfurze really got like that mad scientist kind of vibe to him. But he's like mad scientist in the way that he will like perform stunts in his builds. He could transition to be a superhero himself. He's got the balls for it, you know. I mean, in 2010, he built a scooter that had a flamethrower on it, and that got him arrested. He's got that RLSH staple of getting arrested for weapons you shouldn't own. He is no stranger to pushing boundaries. This guy's gotta be a superhero. He's even got like a nuclear bunker. So like if the world ends because of World War III, Colinfurze is still gonna be around with these kind of crazy inventions. The rich people who are gonna go hide in their bunkers and wait for all the poor people to die to the nukes. They're gonna have another thing coming when Colinfurze also survived, and he's like Iron Man out here stopping all the greedy billionaires who blew up the planet. Let's move on. And speaking of engineering superhero YouTubers, we've got JLaser next, aka JLaser. Yeah, that's right, JLaser. He started back in like 2012 doing little small DIY projects and then just started diving headfirst into superhero projects. He's made quite a lot. Made Spider-Man web shooters, Iron Man repulsors, Batman gliding capes, Mjolnir, ODM gear. Does that count? That counts. That's close enough. You can use that as superhero gear. And of course, JLaser has made plenty of laser weapons. However, I do think that JLaser has a little bit more focus on like superhero media than Hacksmith and Colinfurze. I don't know, maybe he could have been in top tier. No, I mean, well, wait, no, my bad. It's an Iceberg. I was just going off of subscriber count. My bad. Project Hope. I think I mentioned this a little bit when talking about Extreme Justice League because, well, they do a lot of work when it comes to putting it all together. Project Hope is just a volunteer-driven outreach program where different RLSH join efforts to distribute food, hygiene kits, sleeping bags, water, and, any other essential things to people who are homeless right now. I think it started in 2011. That was the first major event, Hope 2011, in San Diego. It was originally organized by the creator of the real-life superhero project, Peter Tangent. He coordinated supply trucks, he brought in a bunch of different superheroes, and then there was media coverage on it and everything. And now the efforts are continued by the Extreme Justice League. It was actually covered on the National Geographic's Taboo. We got local news coverage, and then food trucks got mobilized to large public areas where this event was going on. And then that inspired replications of it in different cities. It went from San Diego to Portland to Chicago, Seattle, all big Hope-style events because, well, there are different superheroes across the country who can't quite make it to San Diego every year. That's right, I said every year. It's still going on this year too. But that's me. I'm one of those superheroes who can't afford to go to San Diego every year. You know what that means, right?
Subscribe.
Websleuths. Now, Websleuths, this is a site that's basically like the internet super detective. It was founded in 1999, and it's basically just an online community where amateur sleuths can go on and discuss missing person cases, unsolved crimes, cold cases, And there is no better investigator than the internet. People power, powerful. There have been countless John and Jane Doe cases that have been advanced thanks to Websleuth members, connecting different missing person reports with unidentified remains. For example, the Golden State Killer case in 2018, or the Sherry Papini case in 2016. And I mean, we could kind of stretch this over to just the idea of a large community of internet sleuths coming together to solve random things. And sometimes it's not so good. Do you guys remember Shia LaBeouf trying to raise his flag and the internet kept finding it and taking it down over and over again? When a lot of people come together to solve a problem, it can be solved remarkably quick. So for that reason, that's kind of why Websleuth is even on here at all, because the idea of the internet joining together to solve a problem, that's like Batman level investigative skills right there. Websleuths just happens to be a website dedicated to doing just that. So I figure that made an easier list entry than like internet detective or I don't know. Websleuths, let's go. Alright, Super from 2010. Basically, this is just Kick-Ass but funnier and written by James Gunn. Okay, actually, now that I think about it, it's nothing like Kick-Ass. It's actually about this dude named Frank whose wife ends up leaving him for a drug dealer. So then, like, he thinks he gets some divine vision and he starts becoming a superhero. He puts on a super suit and calls himself the Crimson Bolt. And he uses a wrench as his weapon. This movie's a lot more brutal than Kick-Ass is, which is saying a lot considering Kick-Ass is also really brutal. And this movie definitely feels a lot more like a parody than Kick-Ass does. Kick-Ass, it takes itself a little bit more seriously than Super does. And for some, that can make Super a better movie or make it worse. I don't know. Go watch it yourself. But this movie didn't do nearly as much for the RLSH community as Kick-Ass did. There's a lot of Crimson superheroes, sure, but I don't think they're named Crimson blank because of Super. But, I mean, it came out around the same time, and it's like the same thing. It's like Teemu Kick-Ass. I had to mention it on the Iceberg somewhere, Alright, next on the list, we have DangerMan. DangerMan is another really, really early RLSH. He started in 1998, before the whole RLSH term even became a thing. He leads nonprofits and he has like DangerMan Education Foundations. His main focus is combating childhood literacy and obesity, trying to talk about, safety and health and whatnot. He doesn't do street patrolling or vigilante type of work or anything like that. He focuses his heroic actions on inspiring the youth and education. Besides showing up at schools, he'll also show up at high visibility events like Taste of Soul and hurricane relief anti-bullying events, and as a result, he gets some engagement from the media like KTLA, church partnerships, and community programs. Now, mind you, there's another DangerMan, but this is somebody else. This is a stunt performer in Portland, Oregon. But I mean, he would also do things in real life. He would do parkour and then leave little like treasures around town. And he had a show called the DangerMan Show. But he is not the same DangerMan that I'm talking about from LA. Next up on the list, we've got Rain City Superhero Movement. This is Phoenix Jones's team right here. And as a result, this team was massive. It had a lot of in and out members all the time. Here, let's get a lineup. We got Phoenix Jones, of course. Then we got Red Dragon, Midnight Jack, Purple Rain, Omega, Thorn, Buster Doe, Green Reaper, Mantis, Gemini, No Name, Catastrophe, Thunder 88, Penelope, Blue Sparrow. Like, they would patrol in a large group. It would look like a little army walking around town. They wouldn't do that big ass patrol every single time. They would split off into smaller groups, usually centering around Phoenix Jones himself. But the group was massive nonetheless. Unfortunately, though, they ended up getting riddled with a lot of drama. First off, the media gave them kind of a hard time, but then there was also some interpersonal drama, because members like Midnight Jack would come on to patrol with like knives and swords and stuff, thinking he was gonna use these over-the-top edgy weapons like he's the Punisher or something. Phoenix Jones didn't like using those kind of weapons on a patrol, which is correct. That's something we can agree on. See, if you put on a costume and then you publicly make it known that you're doing a quote off quote safety patrol, then you get pulled over by the cops because some random Karen called them on you because of a masked figure walking around the neighborhood. Now they're gonna get you for intent of a deadly weapon, all right? Because if you're publicly making it known that you're doing a safety patrol, then you're no longer holding on to it for just self-defense. You're willingly and knowingly going out to get into situations where using that tool is going to be more and more likely. Thus, it's going to be classified as intent. So, count this as a little superhero 101 course. But because of that, Phoenix Jones was having kind of a hard time with some of the members. While inevitably the entire team doesn't even exist anymore, there were members who left to go make an impact in different ways. For example, Omega, he ended up leaving to go make the YouTube channel Comic Tropes. Go check him out. And then Red Dragon ended up leaving to make Echo, who we just covered in this part of the Iceberg. So undoubtedly, Rain City Superhero Movement had, rippling effects onto the larger RLSH community, but they didn't last too long. They disbanded before Phoenix Jones was even finished being a superhero, so we could call it a failed project. But it led directly to a lot of successful projects, so that's good. Project Stargate. Alright, so this is a bit of an evolution on the psychic category from the first level of the iceberg. Oftentimes when it comes to giving some kind of evidence or proof of the existence of psychic phenomena, Project Stargate is one of the first things people point to. Basically, it was a classified US government program investigating psychic phenomena, or specifically for the potential military use. It was most interested in remote viewing, but it dived into a plethora of different topics. I mean, it went on for like 20 years, so they had plenty of time to research. See, during the Cold War, reports started surfacing that the Soviet Union was funding parapsychological research. So over in America, they started getting worried that there was going to be some kind of gap in progress if the Soviets found out psychic truths that America didn't. So they started research divisions. It actually went through a couple different names like Grill Flame, Center Lane, Sunstreak, and then eventually it settled on Stargate. It didn't even just go through just the CIA. It also went through the Army and the DIA. So it was around for a long time, and it was passed around through a lot of different researchers. So it wasn't just remote viewing that they were looking into. And a plethora of different researchers came in and out of this. One, for example, is Robert Monroe, which you can still listen to Monroe tapes on the Project Stargate research. Now, a lot of their findings are declassified, some of it isn't, but weirdly enough, a lot of the things that are declassified allegedly verify the existence of psychic phenomena according to the CIA. It ended in 1995 when the American Institutes for Research concluded that it wasn't really valuable for military use. Now, if you ask Robert Monroe and you listen to the Monroe Institute tapes, then you'll learn it a little bit differently. Robert Monroe states that in order to utilize these psychic phenomena, it already inherently requires a righteous moral code. Quick summary, basically you need to align your chakras for a Kundalini awakening. And to do so, you gotta be a good person. And the things that the United States military wanted to use these psychic powers for aren't good. Therefore, psychic powers, no go. So I'm not gonna tell you which way you wanna believe it, whether it was just not statistically interesting or not militaristically useful. I mean, it could be both. Those aren't mutually exclusive. But it did have a large impact on the cultural perception of psychic phenomena, which as we went over in the first part of the Iceberg, that's pretty superhero-y. That's superheroes in real life. Project Stargate, that could be a comic book. Even without all the woo-woo included, the human brain is still capable of a lot of really phenomenal things. For example, our next entry, echolocation. So when bats and dolphins use echolocation, they're using biological sonar. They have organs specialized to do this. Humans, on the other hand, don't. Our brains are just so capable that higher order cortical processing allows us to create imagined images based off of the echo from different sounds that you can make, like a tongue click, a footstep, or a tap from a cane. And this is usually seen from blind people who use their ability to see to create this visualization of the physical world. The reports of this being possible can date back all the way to the 18th century, and I'm certain that humans have done it far before that, just figuring it out because they happen to be blind. It's just we didn't start documenting it until like the 20th century, so who knows? Initially, it was a phenomenon referred to as facial vision, but then it started being more correctly identified as an acoustic perception. And then by the 1940s and 50s, that's when researchers like Carl Dallenbach started using more controlled experiments to confirm that yes, humans can in fact detect objects, shapes, distance, all of that using sound. Then by the 1990s, neuroimaging and psychophysical research finally solidified that yeah, this is full on, this is echolocation without the organ to do echolocation, because the human brain is incredible. This means you actually don't need to be blind to learn how to do this. So that's just keep note of that, huh? And do I even have to say it? I don't think I have to say it. This is who is this? This is Daredevil. This is Daredevil. You can be Daredevil in real life. Like that might be one of the most realistic things in comic books, next to like all the other things that are extremely realistic. But you know what I mean. Superheroes. 2011. Yeah, the documentary Superheroes. That's what they called it. Not just any superheroes, real life superheroes. Basically, this was a documentary that was just about real life superheroes running around in 2011. The three main characters it covers are Mr. Extreme, Master Legend, and Zimmer. But throughout the documentary, we can see plenty of other superheroes in and out. It first premiered at Slam Dance, but then later it was actually airing on HBO. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't know why it decided to go with this kind of, it has a weird vibe. I don't like the vibe of it. On one hand, it totally brings in like superhero comic book like visuals, sure, but then the tone is just so like weird, and they're kind of trying to frame it like it's some kind of sad story. Like look at these pathetic losers. Look at them. Look.
Bitch slap his ass. Fucking bitch.
They could have made this funny or something, or like, I don't know, anything but this weird like Animal Planet like documentary style that they're doing with this. I don't get it. It's not like the footage is like boring or anything. They could have just edited it. They could have just edited it to where it was more exciting or something. I don't know. It's just, I'm gonna stop harping on the weird editing of this documentary. Point is, it's getting some mileage. Like, I've been gathering clips for this Iceberg from a lot of different YouTube videos about RLSH, and then here I am finding like a whole lot of those just in this documentary. Like a lot of you YouTubers are just using this documentary. I see it. I see you guys. You know what? That's a good contribution to the RLSH community. So thank you, Superheroes 2011. All right, CRISPR. CRISPR is one of those things that I thought was going to be like heavily developed in like the 60s or something. You know, Cold War tech. But honestly, the stuff that we think about CRISPR for didn't start until 2012. Sure, it was first identified in like the 1980s. You see, CRISPR stands for Clustered Regularly Interspaced Short Palindromic Repeat. Now, if you could tell me what that means, that'd be great. But the point is, it doesn't just cut up DNA and edit it and whatnot. They didn't find out that you could use it to cut DNA in specific locations until 2012. By 2015, 2016, we're using it to heal genetic diseases in animals. Oh, but then China starts using it in human embryo experiments. This started a whole panic around CRISPR babies for a while and sparked these like ethical debates about like, should we mess with God's creations? You know, Jurassic Park type questions. Now, of course, it seems like those questions have been answered because by the 2020s, you know, CRISPR advancements are getting Nobel Prizes. So yeah, ethical debate settled. But, you know, who cares? Who cares? Because CRISPR is one of the closest, like, real-world analogies to a comic book mutation. As of right now, we're using it to, like, heal diseases and whatnot. But, theoretically, if you look on the rest of this iceberg here, there's a handful of different unique superpower mutations that human beings can actually have. And so, CRISPR could potentially just, like, unlock each of them. You could just create a super soldier, you know? Little CRISPR baby super soldier. Strength, resilience, metabolism, disease resistance, super high neural processing, so you make a little genius. Mark my words, CRISPR superheroes 2050 or maybe later, 2050 plus. CRISPR superheroes 2050 plus. That's what we're looking for. That's what we're gonna get. Project MKUltra. This is another government experiment project that is pretty popular, and another one that's pretty much like straight out of a comic book. This is Hydra's Winter Soldier program just in real life. Okay, let me explain. MKUltra was a CIA mind control experiment launched in 1953. They were trying to investigate whether like drugs, hypnosis, sensory deprivation, psychological conditioning, all these things could either control or enhance human behavior. This is another Cold War scare thing. There's a couple different superhero comic book type of concepts that happen during MKUltra, and like all of them are like bad guy stuff. Project Stargate is like how to get superpowers, and then MKUltra is like how to be a super villain, because some of the experiments are trying to get a truth serum by testing LSD and different psychedelics on soldiers and prisoners, sensory deprivation and sleep experiments to try to like mind condition and break somebody down, hypnosis to recreate trauma, to reprogram somebody's brain to like make them a programmable assassin through like hypnosis. This is where you get some early exploration of like electrocution. Mind control was really like the focus of MKUltra here. So in a way, MKUltra is kind of like a bunch of super villain experiments. You got the mind controlled super soldiers and super soldiers in general, and mind control in general. Oh, and the truth serum. That's it. That's four different things. Totally, completely different things. Trying to become superhuman through chemical and woo-woo means is nothing new. In fact, for centuries, alchemists were trying to make a sort of super serum of their own. The Philosopher's Stone. I'm sure you've all heard of it, and it's a little bit hard to pin down because it's called the Philosopher's Stone, but it's a little bit more of a substance, and then later on in history, it's turned more into a spiritual idea. But what is it? What does it exactly do? The Philosopher's Stone is said to be able to transmutate base metals into gold or silver, as well as be able to give you immortality or rejuvenation. Again, the legends of the Philosopher's Stone. Again, the hunt for the Philosopher's Stone went on for centuries before it even became a legend. It was called the Magnum Opus, aka the Great Work. Now in fantasy, and especially superhero medium, magical stones that give ultimate power is pretty central to the superhero story. Think of the Infinity Stones or Dragon Balls. While in those stories, they do some crazy, otherworldly power scaling type things. In our world, ultimate power is living long and being rich. That's what it is. But in a way, the Philosopher's Stone is kind of like Earth's Infinity Stone. Maybe one of these days I should do like a hunt for the Philosopher's Stone as a video. That'd be fun, you know? I'm a superhero. I gotta look for the Infinity Stone. Alright, next up is astral projection. And it's just now dawning on me that this tier of the iceberg has a whole lot of woo-woo in it. That's cool though. I'm a big fan of woo-woo. That's why I put a lot of woo-woo in this iceberg, because woo-woo is very superhero. And what is astral projection? It's a superpower that humans may or may not have. I mean, we see it in comic books all the time. Pretty much every single psychic is capable of doing astral projection and regularly does so in comics. Your spirit leaving your body is just a classic superhero woo-woo trope. And in the real world, the concept's been around like forever. It's been around in ancient Egypt, in both Greek and Roman mystical traditions. Leaving the body and going on a soul journey, normal thing. plenty of shamanistic and indigenous belief systems have loads of spiritual travel. You could basically see a form of astral projection all over the world, and the term didn't start coming up until like the 19th to 20th century, right? The idea of astral planes and having an astral body came around in like the 1800s, and then by the early 1900s, you got occult orders like the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, right? It was them who then took the idea of an astral plane and came up with the term astral projection, but it really just means leaving your body. Astral projection was another big component of Project Stargate. Its main purpose was trying to try and use psychic spies to, remote view on opponents. And thus, as a result, astral projection just became a natural part of that research because, well, it's leaving your body. From a scientific standpoint, astral projection is just a bunch of hullabaloo. However, then, like many other instances, there's the occasional weird thing. Plenty of different near-death experiences have had instances where patients who should have been completely dead have vivid memories of floating far above their body and being able to recall crazy details about things that they shouldn't have been able to recall in that instance. In some cases, outside of the room. For example, there is the Pam Reynolds case in 1991. Basically, during a hypothermic cardiac arrest, he needed to get a brain surgery. He was able to recall various different surgical instruments, conversations, and details, everything like that. And patients who experience this will say that they experienced it from outside of their body, viewing their body from above even. It's weird stuff. I'm not going to tell you what to believe, though. Let's move on. Let me ask a question to exactly 2 or 3 people out there. Have you ever wanted to be Aquaman? Or Squirrel Girl? What about one of my favorite superheroes? Dr. Dolittle. That's right. Animal communication technologies exists, especially now more than ever. I guess that applies for like any technological advancement, whatever. I'm not going to count like any of the great apes or any monkeys or anything. They're too close to us. They're too close to our own species. We're just a bunch of monkeys. Like, I get it. We're animals too, but I'm talking about animals far removed from our species. No monkeys in this list. No monkey business, all right? No, none of that. I don't want to see any more monkeys jumping on this video. But birds, that's fine. Birds can talk.
These kids shouldn't even be in production, right?
They're very removed from us. Kinda. I guess we have kind of a lot of things in common with birds, don't we? They walk on 2 legs, they talk, they dance and sing when they want to And I'm sure we've all heard of dolphins having like special keyboards and seen those videos of dogs pressing buttons to talk. But now, thanks to AI advancements, giving a little shout out to AI being up there on the first tier, a large amount of different technologies are being used to decode what animals are kind of talking about. Elephant and whale communications use low frequency calls that are now being analyzed to be decoded. AI bark translator. And when bees wiggle around, they're actually communicating with one another, and pretty soon us too.
You like jazz?
Shout out to B-Boy. I don't know where else to put him on this list. Actually, you know what? I know exactly where. I'm gonna just drop B-Boy later in the iceberg. Boom. All right, are we ready for that? Hell, if we really want to include some of those technologies from the previous tier, we're experimenting with rat-to-rat communication with BCI. That's right, we got telepathic rats. We got telepathic rats before GTA 6? All right, next up we got nothing. We got nothing. Did I really decide to end on animal communication technology? That's, well okay, all right, sure. And also, stop the voiceover real quick. I want to talk to the raw microphone, all right? I don't know what happened. Past couple of days, I just shot up to over 1,000 subs. So thank you guys very much for that. And secondly, I gotta apologize. This video was not supposed to take nearly as long as it did, but it did. I don't really have an excuse other than this one. I got a life.
Subscribe.